Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Jim, it's Amadeus, and we welcome the boss. That's right, not Bruce Springsteen, but
Oh,
Sean Miller.
try.
Sean, how you
I was
doing?
trying to get a way to get my camera to stand up, in front of my steering wheel here. I think I figured it out finally.
Actually, it
So,
looks pretty good. The
all
shot
right.
is framed
Oh,
well at this point.
thank you.
Not only can we see you, we can see that we have a weather issue outside of wherever you are on the
I'll
East
tell you what.
Coast.
Yeah, it's we're getting 4 days of rain here. So as you guys know, and some people that I'll cover some high school sports every
Hmm.
once in a while, but there's not going to be much this week. Maybe Saturday with the games on turf, but
Hmm.
it's rained basically steadily since yesterday, and it's going to stop raining maybe Thursday. So we have four days of rain. So
Well,
my car, if my car starts moving, it might be floating away at this
well,
point.
we'll let the people know. We
Yes,
will
that's right.
we'll dial 911 for you. Last night, guys, uh, it was supposed to be an Angel Reese Caitlin Clark show, and Angel Reese, to her credit, played well, but Caitlin Clark, she balled out, boys. She knew that there's going to be a national audience, and she did not disappoint.
Yeah, definitely. She killed it out there. I mean, I gave out LSU on the show yesterday, so
Mhm.
got burned on that one. But yeah, full credit where credit is due. Iowa's got one nasty team there. These women can hit 3-pointers better than the men. They were hitting them from the parking lot. At one
Right.
point during the game, I was literally saying to myself, when are they going to miss a three? It was
Mhm.
absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, full credit to Iowa and the women there. That was a great performance by them and well-deserved win.
Yeah.
I I was gonna say I think it's interesting. The people are like, oh, she got some revenge. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
because they beat them, but LSU won in the title game. That LSU
Mhm.
won the title, so now she won this game, but now hey, they got to go win the title. For it
Mhm.
to be kind of the same, momentous win, and it's obviously going to be tough because South Carolina,
Mhm.
is there, standing in the way at some point. You'd think so.
Right. They seem to be there. The other thing, though, I think, and we talked about this yesterday, what they were trying to do was have Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese be the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson of women's basketball, and for that to happen, you have to dislike each other, and they don't. So it makes it a little more difficult. But and they don't play the same style of game, so there's that too. But be that as it may, Caitlin Clark will move on, and UConn is moving on. Gino Orienta does what Gino does. He puts teams in the Final Four.
Yeah,
Yeah,
UConn, I think it's safe to say is one of those teams that just doesn't matter if it's the men or the women. You can expect them to do some damage in the tournament in
Mhm.
March.
Absolutely. Now, Sean, Gino comes down your neck of the woods all the time. He
mhm.
he spends a lot of time
Odd
down there
time.
recruiting women. He's got
Yeah,
those. So there's not a girl that plays basketball in your neck of the woods that has not received a phone call from Connecticut.
you're not kidding. When I was at Trenton Catholic, obviously we,
Hmm.
the girls finished number 4 in the country.
Hmm.
Brandon Canty and TCA has a girl on the LSU team, Elia
Hmm.
Del Rosario, and they have girls
Right.
all over the place. Actually, Zoe Brooks, who's at NC State, who's in the
Hmm.
in the
Tournament. Yeah.
Final Four. So, there's just from my school. I know he was at Trenton Catholic a lot, but yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
the New Jersey basketball for boys and girls is just so good, and he makes his presence known. I mean, he's here a lot, and he's one of those guys that does he does the clinics, and
Hmm.
a lot of the coaches are big fans of him. A lot of the retired coaches, a lot of the coaches now, you'll talk to them, and they're all just huge fans of what he does and everything up there. So, but he is in New Jersey a lot.
He's a. You know what? Gino is one of those guys, and there are not as many now as there was back in the day. But Gino's one of those ones. If he gets in there and gets the chance to talk to the parents, you're going to UConn.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. He can talk. He's a salesman for the school. And look, I mean, it's not the same. Obviously, UConn when they're winning, 100 million games in a row and all
Right.
these titles. Because now, I
Right.
mean, you see it's. I mean, like the men's game as well. You see it's a little more spread out now, and
Right.
COVID's kind of messed stuff up, and the
Mhm.
transfer portal and everything. So
NIL. Yeah.
yeah, so I think maybe some of these powerhouse teams will start to get back. But look, I mean, you see, what Don
Mhm.
Staley's done in South Carolina and USC, and it's
Mhm.
starting to kind of. I mean, I think it's tougher now. I mean, if like for the men, if UConn goes and wins back to back, I mean, might be one of the best jobs ever because the basketball is not like it was. When Florida went back to back, or
Right.
it's just a different game now. And you
Mhm.
see, I mean, you say Kentucky's had so much talent and can't even get out of the first round. And he's only won one title in all this time that Calipari's been there. And the women's game is, I think, the same. I mean, you just see different teams kind of popping up here
Mhm.
with a recruiting class and doing well. So
Before we move on to soccer, we're going to do that in a second. Not only you're just talking about Gino being in Jersey, you gotta love UConn with Hurley. I mean, the Hurley family is Jersey.
that's right.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, once again, I mean, when I was at Trenton Catholic in 2010, I started,
yeah.
coaching there in 2009. We
Mhm.
played St. Anthony's in the non-public B state final in
Mhm.
2010, and that was the first time they had lost the state final in forever. We actually Trenton Catholic won. We ended up, fourth in the country that year because we won the tournament of champions, but basically because we beat St. Anthony's.
But just
But
for a minute, just so for perspective, the reason I'm saying this, and you're talking about the father.
the
The
father,
father
yep,
is yes, the father is
Bob
the
Hurley
man.
Sr.
He is the guy who, everybody looked at as the the godfather of high school basketball for many years. And when you got a kid from Hurley, you knew that kid was going to play.
And look, I mean, Bobby Hurley is
Yeah,
coaching, and he was a very good player until he got in this car
yeah,
accident, and even though he went to Duke,
yeah.
and and then look, Danny was decent, but he's become an unbelievable coach,
Right.
and just what he's doing there, and once again, I mean, it's this is hard to do.
Mm,
They're 2 games from going back to back, and it's not the same team. I mean, it's not
right.
really. It's not like the Florida. Once again, it's not like the Florida team in 2006 and 2007, where basically Noah, everybody came back.
Mm,
Jock and Noah and all these guys, like
right.
the North Carolina teams in
Hmm.
'08 and '09 that lost in the Final Four and then won. With
Hmm.
everybody, Hansborough lost them back. Same thing,
Right.
2016, 17. Um, it's just not like that now, and it's just to be and look, I mean, I've never seen anything like a 30-0 run in an Elite Eight game. I mean, that was the
Right.
most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Right.
So what they're doing right now, but the men's final, I think everybody now is anticipating UConn and Purdue, kind of like that Baylor Gonzaga game from the COVID year when they were
Right.
just the 2 best teams in the country, and everybody kind of was expecting them to that year was the craziest year because I
Hmm.
just remember because sports betting was kind of still new in some of the
Right.
states, and they had a bet all year, and it
Hmm.
was Baylor or UConn, so Baylor and Gonzaga was -118, and any other team was the
Pick the
same price,
field.
minus
Yeah.
118. So you got 330 teams on one side, and Baylor and Gonzaga, and Baylor and Gonzaga got to the final, and it's just
Right.
like everybody in the world, like usually, sometimes there's upsets, and
Right.
NC State, everybody in the world knew those teams were getting there, and I
They
think
were the.
you talk to people now, and everybody kind of wants to see that
We
UConn and
spoke about that
Purdue.
yesterday. Yeah, that
Yeah.
Amadeus brought up that
Yeah, it's
that
gonna
was the
happen for
game.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, once again, everybody loves Cinderella, but like, and it's the same thing,
Mhm.
we'll talk about soccer, the Champions League.
Yeah.
Hey, wow, you get an upset here or something like that,
Mm.
man. No, nobody wants to see, Aston Villa in the Champions League final. They want to watch Real Madrid and Arsenal, or Real Madrid and Bayern Munich or something like that. They want to see those big teams.
Well, speaking of soccer, boys, please do. Let's talk about the Champions League. The Champions League and the Premiership, which there's only 2 handfuls of games left before that one ends.
Amadeus, I know you got something today.
Oh yeah, of course I got some action on these games. So what do you want to talk
one
about?
of them. I like one of the games. Before we get
who's playing, guys? Go ahead.
We got Newcastle and Everton is I think the one game, and then what's the other game today?
Yeah, so we got there's 5 today. We got Newcastle, Everton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Burnley, and the Wolves, and then West Ham, Tottenham. I guess is the 3:15 Eastern start. So
I I don't know which game you have with your picks. I mean, when I looked at this slate of games, the midweek games, I didn't really, Chelsea's playing Manchester United on Thursday. Manchester City's got a big game tomorrow. But I looked at that Newcastle Everton game right away, and I watched Newcastle come back and win that game 4-3, and those are the type of games that give you momentum. And then I look and see like they're plus money today, and I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't really get it. I know Newcastle's all over the place, but I think this is a little bit of a momentum game, and where you just had that crazy comeback. Although I guess you could make the point, they spending so much energy getting back in that game and winning it, so it could be tough. But Everton's not any good, and they're Everton's in. We'll get into a little bit with the financial stuff because there's some big news today. But Everton, I think, is in a lot of trouble now. I don't know did you talk about that yesterday, Amadeus?
No, we didn't.
No, haven't talked too much about the financial trouble.
They had losses.
Only our own. Yes.
They had losses of like over 100 million, and that's they're already in trouble. Look, they got a 10-point. Taken away, and then down to 6, and they still have another charge hanging over their heads for 2022, 23. So that's going to be maybe adjudicated on the 8th next week sometime. I know the Nottingham Forest they appealed, but they just lost another 100-something million. It might have been 189 million. It's something crazy. Like they're way over. So they're gonna get. Look, they're building this whole stadium, and they're gonna get docked. They're gonna be in the championship, but I think even if they go to the championship, they're gonna have to sell everybody. So they could be in the wilderness for a long time. And then today, Leicester City. We talk about the championship in a couple minutes. Leicester City posted losses of about 90 million, and they're already in trouble as it is as well. So they're in the championship, so they're trying to fight whether they can get points docked because it's the Premier League or whatever. So they're going to get points docked. And they're in a lot of trouble. But so there's a lot of stuff going on around these teams. Everton, I think, the bad news keeps coming. And I just think at some point they're just not going to be able to stay up. And Newcastle today at plus 105 looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. Everton has been they've been unraveling a bit in their recent games. They had that little stretch of good form, but now they've been picking up a lot of losses. And as you said, the more the bad news comes in, it's got to be deflating as a player on the team, right? You're trying to stay above the relegation zone. You're right there. First you get a 10 points. Now it's down to 6, but then probably going to get that raised again. And so as a player, you're fighting in these games knowing you're expecting more bad news to come. And even if you win the next 3 games, you might get all those points just taken away from you and be right back where you started. So it's definitely deflating for these players. I think I see where the line is coming from. Newcastle is very thin with their squad right now, specifically on defense. And we saw the way their defense played, even though they came back to win 4-3. their defense and just in general recently has not been good. They have a very thin squad, and I think the fact that they're playing on a Tuesday here, very short rest, is where I think the line is coming from. But I totally agree with you. I don't know how you can back Everton even for a draw here. We saw them on the weekend. They almost pulled away a draw against Bournemouth just to let it go right after they tied it. So can you really trust this Everton team? And Newcastle definitely has the firepower with that attack where they could just, they could score 3 goals in the first half, put Everton out of this game by halftime. But I agree with you. The plus money definitely has some value for Newcastle, but I see where the line is coming from just with the thinness of the squad.
You guys,
I think,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think too with Everton. Look, I mean, Onana's not going to be there. Branthwaite's not going to be there. I mean, look, they have to sell. Everybody in the world knows they have to sell. Those 2 guys are academy people. They're going to go. Manchester United, everybody, Real Madrid wants them. City wants them. These guys. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're not even going to be there. Like, are you, like, is your, like, I understand you're a professional, you're getting paid and stuff like that, but, like, your head's halfway out the door already. The season's over in a month, a month and a half. There's 6 weeks left. The season's over. I know they're like fighting to stay up and stuff like that. But these guys, I just think Everton is in a lot of trouble. And then some of these other games, I mean, it's just tough to take some of these teams. I mean, I looked through 10 games because I'm in a knockout a pool with a bunch of people where you have to pick a team and all they have to do is win. So we're only in the 3rd week and there's only me and one other person left. It's just been really weird season this year. I mean, you just don't know where the results are coming. I took Liverpool because I think they're going to win by 5-0 on Thursday or Wednesday, whenever they play. But the odds aren't great. But some of these games today, even with the odds, I mean, it's just, you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know. The only game I really looked at and I thought I could maybe bet on is that game. I know the 3:15 game. Tottenham's playing who today?
West Ham.
Yeah, West Ham. I mean, same thing. The other day, I thought they played all right and they could have won, but you never know what you're gonna get with them. So I think Tottenham's in pretty good shape. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And this, obviously today comes the day after the championship games yesterday. Did you see any of those games yesterday?
No, I didn't catch the championship games yesterday.
Jim, the championship right now, I mean, Ipswich Town, who's managed by Kieran McKenna, who used to be at Manchester United.
Right.
They were in League One when he took over. They were 15th in League One.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we'll find out when Sean returns what happened. That's a little bit of a what do you call it? That's a cliffhanger. We're gonna wait till Sean comes back and tells us what happened. He's coming back.
Audio troubles. We're used to it.
Somebody's calling me, man. Somebody, I got to tell them.
How dare they call you on your phone while you're using it?
Like, what are you doing? So Ipswich Town, they were 15th, obviously in League One. They come up, so they're leading the league right now. Wow. Leeds is second. I think it's 87, 86, and 85 points.
Wow.
So there's 3 teams right now, and remember, 2 go up automatically. I mean, look, you want to win the league, but whatever. Even if you don't win, if you finish second, you go up. 3rd through 6th goes into the playoffs. And those teams, if you've looked back on this in the last few years, 4 or 5 years, there's been a couple times where that 2nd and 3rd place team, it's a race to the end. And that team that finishes just short, you think, hey, they're so much better. But a lot of times they go into that playoff and it's a home and home, the first leg against the team that finished 6th, and then you got to go to Wembley and win 1 game. But it's tough. Those teams don't really do well in the playoffs. So it's, and once they get Leicester, they have all this stuff hanging over them. If they don't come back to the Premier League, they're in a lot of trouble. They're going to get points docked, whatever. This team could be heading for like a Leeds what Leeds did, or in the wilderness for years, 16
Mhm.
Wigan, some of these teams, and remember they won that title. They've won a couple FA Cup. They won an FA Cup. They
Mhm.
won a title. They've won some silver, and they're really close to being in trouble here. They had a 12-point lead at one point, and now they're in third place,
Wow.
which is a little bit crazy.
Well, now, when we were doing the pre-show, you guys said that the race for the Premier League championship is going to be tight, much tighter than Champions League. Why don't you talk about that? Because I know there's a lot of fans out there who want to wonder who's it going to be. Is it going to be Liverpool? Is it going to be Arsenal? Is it going to be Man City? Who's it going to be?
I don't know. Amedeus, I'd let you go first. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
I'm not
yeah.
saying you have to pick it. I'm
I
just saying
said, you
let's
know
talk
what?
about who's gonna at least be in it.
I
Uh,
mentioned it last week. I think on the last one you were
Yeah.
on, Sean. Tottenham's going to decide who's winning the title when they have that
right.
4-game stretch where they play Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, and I forget who it was, but they got like a brutal stretch coming up in April, and they might just decide the title right there because Tottenham's a damn good team.
Too
I
bad
I I
Amadeus had
think.
doesn't play.
Yeah.
We checked their schedule.
I think when you look, obviously, City and
Mhm.
Arsenal are still in the Champions League. Liverpool is still in the Europa League. Liverpool's got to play some tough games. That game on Sunday was an abomination. It was awful to watch. I don't. Tacticos are saying the City and Arsenal. Oh wow, They both played four center backs, and it was a terrible, terrible, terrible game to watch. Neither team wanted to really, you know, I I kept yelling at the TV that Pep should sub Erling Haaland on.
Yeah, I
And
saw
that,
you making those
oh
jokes.
my, that guy's the biggest flat track bully in the world. He's like Lukaku. He's never done anything in a big game ever. You keep kind of betting him to score, and you're just like, he's never scored in a final for him. He hasn't touched the ball in those games. Like, he didn't
Well,
touch the ball.
that's what his problem is, right? He needs service. He can't create for himself. That's what his issue is.
100%. Roy Keane was killing him after the game. He said he's like a League Two striker because he can't create his own stuff. And I mean, look, he scores a million goals, but he scores 5 goals against some bums in some championship or League One team in the FA Cup, or he scores, whatever, score against,
Mhm.
Crystal Palace or something like that. So, you got to do it in these big games. That's where it's going to count. I mean, and if he can't do it in these big games, like I'm like, I went on record last night on by the book, and I think Real Madrid beats Manchester City over two legs. I just, watching City, I think they're a little bit banged up. I think Arsenal gave Real Madrid a little bit of a blueprint. I just think Real Madrid is also very, very good attacking wise as well. But they're going to start getting some players back defensively. I just you know it's tough to know. Like, I don't, obviously I never ever root for Liverpool to do anything.
Hmm.
So, don't want them to win. City is like the lesser of the three evils, I guess, because everybody knows they're cheating and it's going to get thrown out anyway at some
Mhm.
point. And Arsenal fans, if they ever win anything, they'll be like the worst in the world to deal with on Twitter. It would almost be funnier if they didn't win this title again, and then, like, in the next couple years, other teams got good. But Arsenal could do it. I think they have the firepower to do it, but I just think they're a little bit like, they're like an injury away from to like a key player to being in a little bit of trouble.
So
So
they're not deep.
yeah, I mean, they've had some guys coming back, like Martinelli's coming back.
Mhm.
I just think, for that, I don't think their squad is deep enough to win if they're going to go deep in the Champions League, which I think they can, because I think they could beat Bayern Munich. Like, they could get to a final, I think, or at least a semifinal. So if they're playing all those extra games, I just don't know if they're going to have enough to win the title. Hey, like, Liverpool's probably the favorites, but I think there's going to be some games where Liverpool's going to drop points and it's going to let City back in.
Well, under circumstances like that, you've got, and you said that they're in both, races. Is there a situation where you say to yourself, okay, I don't have the depth that I would like to have? Do they choose, let's try to win the Champions League, or do they say, you know what, let's go for the Premiership?
I don't
Or
think they
they
can
do
at
that at
this
all?
point. Like if I'm Arsenal, look, you haven't won the Premier League
Yeah.
since 2004.
Mhm.
So you've never won the Champions League. You haven't even been to a final, and you
Right.
haven't been to a quarterfinal in like over a decade. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the first time you actually won.
Mhm.
A round of 16 tie since like forever ago.
Okay.
I know they played Manchester United in the 2009
Mhm.
semifinal. So I don't think you can. I think you got to go for it. Like
Mhm.
if you're them, you have to go for as
Mhm.
much as you can. And if you run out of gas, you run out of gas.
Mhm.
But they're talented enough to do it. I just if City starts getting healthy, like nobody has a squad, they do. But once again, if Real Madrid beats them, if Real Madrid beats Manchester City, I expect City to win the title. I think they'll go and they'll win something. But it would
So
be
they won't.
great after they're talking about the quadruple for Liverpool if they only won one title, because Bayer Leverkusen's in the Europa League as well. Liverpool and Bayer Leverkusen are the two best teams in the Europa League by far.
Mhm.
So that would be cool if they well, obviously once again I hope Liverpool lose every game they play, but if they played in the final, I think that would be interesting for the media, obviously, because Xavi Alonso used to play there. But
Yeah. Tell us how you really
I
think of
yeah,
them.
nah.
I agree with you. I think Leverkusen and Liverpool are the best teams left in the Europa League. And I think Leverkusen can make a case as, the best team in Germany right now, one of the best teams in Europe by far. But I wouldn't count Atalanta out. I think they've done a lot to really, really change things up recently. They got a lot of attacking power there too. Obviously, they struggled when they were missing Lookman and stuff like that. But now that everybody's back, they've been on fire in the Italian league. Obviously, they're no Inter Milan, but definitely I think Atalanta can be a bit of a threat in the Europa
Who do they
League.
play next leg? I don't have it up in front of me. Who do they play next leg again?
Let me just. I thought I just check though.
I was gonna pull my laptop out, but then I remembered my
Your Wi-Fi.
My Wi-Fi's in the trunk, so.
Everything
You have to have a satellite car.
freezing on me apparently.
I probably have.
Yeah, they play Liverpool.
Atalanta does?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because you're right. They could beat them.
They could beat them. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was Leverkusen and Atalanta.
That would be good. It would be great if they won the Milk Cup in penalties. Obviously, again, they didn't score again, and it's the fourth straight final they haven't scored a goal. But they're out of the FA Cup. I know Liverpool has talent. I think they're banged up though, and I think they could be like Manchester United. I think that could be a tough game this weekend. I don't expect Manchester United to do anything against Liverpool because they never do, but they just beat them 4-3 in the FA Cup. So, I just think Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool right now has the best squad of the three teams. I think they have Mo Salah, but some of the other players they have are banged up. They're banged up defensively. And I'm just not sold on them. I think they'll lose some games down the stretch. I have more confidence in Manchester City. I don't care how many points back they are right now. I just have confidence that they'll find a way to win the title because they always do. So, especially once again, if Real Madrid knocks them out, if Real Madrid knocks out City, I 100% expect City to win the title.
Yeah, that's the key thing, right? Like if Arsenal or Man City gets knocked out of Champions League, it's a completely different game because Arsenal, really, if you look, that's when they had their issues, was when they had to play the Champions League games. Ever since they came back from the winter break. They've been on fire because they're only playing once a week. So
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I 100% agree.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, that's why sometimes it's that's what happened last year. They finished 8th the year before. They didn't have anything to worry about. They're only playing every once in a while, and you have a chance to go out and win the games. So and then you finish second. But yeah, I think I I think there's a path. Like right now, Arsenal's second choice to win the Champions League behind City. Um, Arsenal would have to beat, Bayern, and then either City or Real Madrid to get to a final. But if they get to the final, I think they win it. But they definitely are a dangerous team. I think once again, like I said this, I still think they have a better chance to win the Champions League because it's like one, it's just those two games. Like you could play for those two games. I think, over the course of the like 10 games in the league, something will happen. They'll get a red card somewhere, or somebody will get hurt, or something like this. The Champions League, if you get through the Bayern, you have a couple weeks off before you have that next semifinal. So, and if they play City in the semifinal, look, I mean, just watched it. I mean, City hasn't scored against them this year. They've outplayed City, I think, over 2 legs. So, I think they have a chance to get to a final. So, if they get there, I think they win it.
Yeah, if you want to compare Arsenal and City, I would totally agree. Arsenal is the better team right now, and the results speak for themselves. 0-0 draw at Etihad, the 1-0 win at home earlier this season, and we can even throw in there the Community Shield at the beginning of the year when Arsenal scored that late goal and then won it in penalties.
Yep. Yeah, I think if I was once again, I think Real Madrid's going to win that, and I think Madrid offers them a little bit more issues than City does because I think they're a little more dynamic up front, and they want to play a different way. That Pep ball. I mean, look, you pass the ball and you have 8 million passes and you have 80% possession, but if you can't break down the back four, what's the difference? So Real Madrid is going to play counter, obviously, with Bellingham and Vinny and Rodrigo who's scoring, and they have Brahim Diaz, and they have so many Camavinga. They have a lot of dynamic players. So I think that's why I think they're going to give City some problems. And I think City will be able to score a little bit against them, but I think they're going to give City some problems. Playing counter, because if you've watched over the years, Manchester United against Manchester City, even when we haven't been great, we give City problems because they sit back and play on that counter. And they'll hit them. They'll hit them, and they've had that. If you look at Manchester United's record against Manchester City, probably over the last like 6 or 7 years, it's not terrible. They actually played pretty well against them. So those type of teams do play well. It's going to be interesting. But like with the title race, I think once again, and the race for Champions League, because I think 5 teams are going to be in from England now because they have the 3 teams. They have Arsenal and City left, and Liverpool, and they're West Ham and Aston Villa. So, they're gonna probably get that 5th spot. So, it's going to be interesting to see because that race for 4, 5, 6. Villa has a tough schedule. They could only, they might struggle over the last 8 games here. So we'll see. But Tottenham, I think Tottenham will probably finish 4th. And then, we'll see if, Manchester United can do anything. I doubt they will, but.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
I got to take off because the kids are about to jump in the car. I wanted to say
okay.
Thanks for listening.
Well, it's good to have you guys, around as always.
Yeah, and I hopefully Friday I'll be back. I'll be in the same situation Friday. It might be sunny Friday, so. We'll see.
Oh, there you go.
See on the sun.
Well, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah.
It's always sunny. That's right.
Yeah. Third Rock.
All right.
It's always
I'll
sunny
see
in
you guys hopefully Friday.
All right.
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Have a great day. All right. There he goes out the door, and away he goes, or stays. There he goes. All right. So anyway, Well, we talked about quite a bit there into the soccer aspect of it. There's been some talk today that um,
Sean left, and I got audio issues now. Caused an audio ripple for me.
yeah, it's okay. Me too. So for those of you out there still with us, was going to ask Amadeus, is there, and a pretty good one, that Dak Prescott's going to get traded? And I just was asking you if you thought that was and doesn't want to go anywhere because he's causing some serious audio difficulties here.
All right, I heard Dak Prescott is getting traded, and then you cut off. So let's try that again.
Okay, real quick. Rumor: Dak Prescott is not going to be a Dallas Cowboy, but then again, who's trading for him and where would he go?
Yeah, that would. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have been saying for the last few years that they need to get rid of Dak. That's the next step for Dallas if they want to do anything in the playoffs. And it could be a good move, but I totally agree with you, especially with the draft class of quarterbacks this year. We saw every mock draft this quarterback going every other pick. So who's taking? We already saw Justin Fields get traded for a ham sandwich.
Right.
So who's taking Dak Prescott, and what are you going to get for him? I think it's a great question, and honestly, Jim, I don't have an answer for you because
I don't
I'll
either.
I'll have to think tonight about possible avenues for him to go. But yeah, it's where would he start realistically?
I would think, first of all, I don't know that Jerry Jones is going to trade him. I mean, there's been many years he's had any possibility of trading him. There's a lot of mileage on Dak Prescott. Okay. So I'd be concerned about his arm. I'd be concerned. I mean, he gets injured almost every year. So I'd be concerned about. And you said, where would he start? That would be a wise choice for them to make. I mean, they just got rid of Russell Wilson. So honestly, I don't know. I personally wouldn't trade for him. So I don't know.
The next step
guess
for
is
him,
he'll stay with the Cowboys.
Yeah, the next step for him might just be, backup veteran QB, giving some advice to the young guy that comes in at this point. Because if he gets traded, yeah, I would think he's done as a starter.
Yeah, I mean his mess if he's gonna leave Dallas, which is possible, but then again we'll see. But if he is gonna leave Dallas, his best bet may be to follow Tony Romo and get in the booth because he's doing a lot of commercials and all that sort of stuff. So maybe if I'm Dak Prescott, I don't want to go out as a second string quarterback, for some team, that doesn't have a star on the helmet because he's been there for that long. I'm one of these people that if your career is gonna be over, let it be over on a high note and not, going out there and trying to, Brady was lightning in a bottle. Okay, that happened, and all of the stars fell into place for him on that. I don't know that it hasn't for Dak, and he's had tremendous teams in Dallas. I mean, there's no reason to believe that Dak Prescott, in his state that he is right now, and we're having technical difficulties again.
All right, I think we're back. We're back.
Yeah, I think so. I just said that I think that there's no reason to believe that Dak couldn't win.
First Sean, now you just keeps leaving me on the cliffhangers.
I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you what we're going to do before we have problems here. Any more problems, I should say. Tell us about what's going on tonight. Tell us about what's going on tonight, and where people can find what you're doing in our show box below.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Tonight, I got a lot of action. I mean, my 2 Premier League games have already started, but I still got one more on the 3:15 game that you can go get. I also have a soccer play in the Copa Libertadores tonight. And I got a big MLB card, 3 plays in MLB tonight. I'm coming off a 2-0 night, and I also got 2 NBA plays. I'm looking to bounce back from yesterday, so make sure you check that out.
All right. Now, before anything else happens, we're going to leave, and we'll be back tomorrow, because I'm terrified that the computers, both of our computers, will crash at the same time. So let's just we'll have a good day, everybody. Obviously, the atmospherics here on the East Coast is a problem. And we will see you tomorrow for Amedeus. I'm Jim. Take care, everybody. Be well.